Welcome to the RnBe podcast.
RnBe podcast.
RnBe podcast. As you guys can see, I don't know where to look. I guess I shouldn't look at any cameras now. I'm going to look at my camera.
Yeah, I'm looking at my camera over there.
As you guys can see, we now have the triple camera setup. We are professional vodcasters now.
Yeah, we're professional in the sense that we're in your basement.
Right.
And we're
Why did you have to tell them we're in my basement? As far as they know, we're in a studio.
We're in a professional production studio.
This is the professional vodcast
We
studio.
spent a lot of money on this studio.
We did spend a lot of money on
You
the studio.
have to believe me.
And since we spent a lot of money in the studio, if you want this vodcast to continue, then what you need to do is go check out the new Comicstorian shirt, the Crack-a-Cacoom shirt.
I don't even have my own shirt.
We're going to make you one. And we're going to make an RnBe shirt eventually. But right now, the Comicstorian shirt's what you should be going for. It'll be on the screen right now. It's a Flash-themed Comicstorian shirt coming up with my favorite catchphrase that I have now made my own. You have best thing coming out of DC Rebirth. I have Crack-a-Cacoom.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Have you not heard me do it?
I've heard you do that, but
I mean, if I do it now, it's going to peak the mic.
Is that
like
like
crazy.
when the lightning strikes?
Yeah. No. It's when he goes at top speed.
Crack-a-cacoom.
Right. So he'll be like, the Flash is running at top speed, and then it's like the Reverse Flash showed up and he pissed him off, and then it's like the Flash moves and you see a Crack-a-Cacoom.
That sounds pretty amazing.
See?
Yeah, that would work.
Because that's how they've been writing it since like the dawn of time. That's it. He cracks the lightning. He's going so quickly.
I don't know. It's like Wolverine's whole snicked.
Snick. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone knows snicked or thwip. Yeah. Thwip is a thing.
Oh, the SpiderMan webbing. Yeah.
So we have a Crack-a-Cacoom t-shirt right here at Comicstorian to celebrate Flash and the RnBe podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Funds of the sales of that shirt go to fund the podcast.
They go to me.
They go both ways. But they bought all this new equipment. You see all this cool new equipment?
Yeah, they literally go to making like a good podcast.
They do. That's exactly why we started doing merchandising and more brand deals. We wanted to fund an amazing podcast, and we hope you guys enjoy this.
Exactly.
And on that note, we always have to promote it, right, Rob? Rob and I have a gaming channel which we
Eligible
do with,
Monster.
We do it with Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful gaming channel. I personally really enjoy doing it. I know you enjoy it. We have a lot of fun over there. We discuss topics like is No Man's Sky any good, and we get shot up in player-unknown battlegrounds.
And Rob loses to Natalie when he plays video games.
Yeah, we've renamed that series now to Rob Loses to Natalie.
Rob loses Natalie, yeah. That's Natalie beats Rob. It's the most entertaining show, I guess. Just watching me get beat at games.
But where can we find that podcast or that channel, Rob?
That channel, Eligible Monster. YouTube.com/Eligible Monster.
There you go.
You can also find it down in the description.
Yeah, well, if you're watching the podcast. If you're watching the
podcast.
re-upload, then they don't have a description.
Oh, that's true. They don't.
Yeah, I don't think you understand how iTunes and SoundCloud work. There's no video or description.
Well, there is a description. Well, it's not really like a clickable description.
No, it's not really clickable.
Not a link that'll take you anywhere.
So at this point, as we know, our commenters, if they are watching the podcast version of this, are in the comments down below going, video starts at whatever time this is.
Yep.
Today's topic, Rob, is the most tragic deaths that I could dig up.
Oh, man.
Now, I did a lot of work on this.
The feels are going to be real in this podcast.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 tragic deaths in comics.
Wow. I'm almost terrified to hear them. I'm just going to be crying by the time.
Well, let's start it off with a couple of the easy ones. Okay, we'll start off with one of the most obvious ones.
Okay.
We all know the origin of Batman, but think about that for a moment. That is a tragic death. As much as we're tired of hearing about Thomas and Martha Wayne dying, you have a young boy between the ages of 8 to 12 whose parents were gunned down in front of him.
I would say the death of Batman's parents is probably the most important, like the two most important deaths in comic books. It's not like Superman's parents, right? Like Superman's parents, they were on Krypton, planet blew up, whatever. Because there were countless other Kryptonians.
They're on this list too, so we'll go into that in a minute.
Yeah, but I mean, but Batman, and even more so than Uncle Ben, I would say like the death of Batman's parents, because it's literally the definitive reason why he became Batman.
Yes,
Spider-Man was already Spider-Man by the time Uncle Ben died. But like Bruce Wayne became Batman because of his parents' deaths.
Right.
So
and his only father figure at that point was Alfred.
Yeah.
How would you feel if you were just a rich kid who had these great parents and basically what it all turned into was now your butler's raising you?
Yeah, they get shot in a dark alley somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it tragic.
Well, that's the point of this video.
Yeah, I know.
The 24 most tragic deaths in comics.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it complements the name of the video. It makes it tragic. We're not a movie. We're not naming the movie somewhere in the movie. Like,
I get it. They're the Inglorious Bastards.
Dude, there's this hilarious scene in Family Guy where he does that, where it's like he's like, oh, they said it. They said the name of the movie.
So that's what I want to kick the list off with. And for you guys in the comments, oh, that's weak. Trust me, this is going to get good. This is going to get real good.
I imagine it'll get cool.
So the next one, we're going to go with the next obvious tragic death.
Okay.
You mentioned it already.
Death of Superman's parents?
Well, that's third.
The death of Uncle Ben?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because once again, we had a father figure that was gunned down because of Spider-Man's own inability to stop it.
Well, that, in terms of heroes learning lessons, that's important because it taught Spider-Man that when you have the ability to act, it's your responsibility to act. It's the quintessential statement, like with power or with great power must come great responsibility. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. That was that
also
lesson.
come.
Must also come. Yeah. God, man, if Sal was here, he'd freak. No, it literally fits in perfectly with that whole theme. Like he learned his lesson and came home to roost. It is important because, I mean, Uncle Ben is like the driving factor behind Peter Parker in terms of how he acts as Spider-Man. But again, I don't think it's as tragic as Batman because he didn't become Spider-Man because of the death of Uncle Ben.
I don't know. You're right. And the tragedy of Batman's parents turned him into Batman.
Yeah.
But the tragedy of Uncle Ben's death is still a pretty epic moment for the character, for every family member. You know, Aunt May dealt with that for years to come.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, even characters, depending on which version of Peter Parker you're looking at, characters like Mary Jane even felt the impact of the death of Uncle Ben.
Yeah. I mean, it did. It did have far-reaching consequences. But in terms of like, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I mean, it helped to define Peter in terms of like, it's like the Gwen Stacy death. Like, well, you know, it helped to define his character. But I don't know. I still give it to Thomas and Martha Wayne.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So next we'll go with the third one, which is Superman's parents.
Yes.
And now everyone likes to kind of just be like, oh, Superman's parents died. It's whatever. But think about this. The tragedy of this death is Zor-El in most versions of that story knew the death was coming.
Yeah.
And he spent all of his time to do nothing but save his son. He could have built a big ship. He could have tried.
Well, he tried. That was the whole thing. He tried to warn the Science Council so they would build ships.
It depends which version. Some of them he didn't warn him. Some of them he did. Depends. You know, there's multiple versions. So, but what I'm saying is like he still could have built a way for himself, his wife, and his son to all survive. Tried for that. Instead, his focus was getting his son off the planet.
Yeah. I mean, it is sad because it's the quintessential. It's the equivalent of a parent jumping in front of a bullet for their kids.
Yeah,
is exactly what it is, and it is cool because it helps to like. I think it goes towards Superman trying to be human because he just wants to belong somewhere.
Right.
And it is cool, but again, you know, I mean, it's people that you never see outside of his origin story. Maybe some flashbacks, possibly a story where he travels back in time. I mean, that's it. Like they're so distant and so removed. It's like, yeah, his parents got blown up, and even then, the death of his parents is overshadowed by like the entire existing like sidekick team of Superman. So.
No, you're right about that. And I think that's the problem with these three tragic deaths where no one ever lets them like sink in. You never sit there and you're like, oh, the death of Uncle Ben, that was really sad. And you never sit there and you're like, oh, the death of Batman's parents was really sad. It's because they're just referenced. We almost never have any context behind it. It's just, oh, they died.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. But if you really think about the situation, all of those deaths are really impactful. They turned these characters into the superheroes that they are now. You know, even Uncle Ben, while he was already Spider-Man, he wasn't really Spider-Man. He was like just a wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, he had his powers. He had the ability to go fight crime.
Yeah,
is basically
he just chose not to.
He just chose not to.
Right.
Yeah.
But these are three major tragic deaths that no one ever really gives the weight that I feel like they deserve. I mean, it's a lot of parents just dying.
Yeah, that's really it.
So, okay. So now we're going to... Oh, God.
Well, I was going to say, it's kind of ironic, too, because those are the three most important deaths in the history of comics.
They really are, you know. And there's more that we're going to bring up in a minute that people love to discuss, and they don't get brought up that often.
Yeah.
Next, I'm actually going to pull up one that I didn't know. I didn't know this whole thing. Okay. I was unaware that this was even a thing.
I'm kind of curious what this is.
I mentioned it yesterday. But when I was looking up the most impactful deaths, the death of Aquaman's son.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know about that until you brought it up.
Okay.
Because I was sitting there thinking about that, and I was like, oh, yeah. Like, that would make sense if they did that. No, that's right. That was an era where they were trying to reinvent his character.
Right. Well, the same thing was like a year later, Flash's wife died. But this is a year before that. And they were trying to make his character more important. So they had Black Manta kidnap his son, Arthur Curry Jr. The kid, from the looks of the images, could only be probably, like 10, maybe younger?
Yeah, something like that.
And he put him in a thing of water and suffocated him.
Yeah.
And no matter how quickly they tried to save him, they couldn't.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be an aftermath to like the Super Friends. When it's like Aquaman talks to fish and it's like, all right, guys, we need to clear up Aquaman's reputation. He doesn't just talk to fish.
He's been riding on a seahorse.
Yeah, let's make him brutal.
Let's make him lose his son.
Yeah, let's make him lose his son in some tragic drowning. Like,
I think the worst part about that death is that it's not referenced anymore because the Crisis on Infinite Earths happened a few years later.
Yeah,
so all that kind of stuff was just wiped out. He never had a son. So there was no son to lose, which is why I didn't know about it. And I'm an Aquaman fan. I didn't even know there was an Arthur Curry Jr.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but stuff like that I think should stay.
Well,
like,
yeah,
it should be
his
referenced.
son died, and they took the risk to print that. His son died with his inability to save him.
Yeah. They should reference stuff like that. They should
Yeah.
just kind of keep that there. Even if it's only like in an origin story and it's mentioned in passing. It's like, and I had a son who was drowned by Black Manta. You know, and it's like,
Well, it
that's why I
explains
hate
why
him
him
so
and Black
much.
Manta are always fighting.
Yeah, that does.
Because I get Black Manta's like, oh, you killed my father, or you injured my father, Aquaman, depending which version you're in.
Yeah.
But like Aquaman's just like, go away. Just
that's-
go away.
That's really what it comes down to. Black Manta's like, you punched my dad really hard.
Yeah.
And so now I'm going to be your mortal enemy.
Exactly. But if Black Manta had still killed his son,
Yeah.
that would make someone a mortal enemy. That would be like, what?
Yeah. That's actually pretty cool. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought that back in Rebirth.
I don't know. I don't think they'd have honestly the balls to kill a child in a
Kill a
comic at this
10-year-old
point.
kid. Dude, they made Way Harper like a heroin addict. I could see them doing
They fix it. No, he's just an alcoholic.
I didn't like that.
That's what I mean. Like the new era of
Convergence.
DC, I don't see them pulling something like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Okay.
totally true.
Next up, and you probably know this one, the story of Lori Grimes.
Oh God. Now here's a funny thing. You actually corrected a misunderstanding that I
Yeah,
had.
because I looked that up.
Yeah.
So the understanding in general with the general audience is, so in the comic, it's the prison scene, the governor and everyone's attacking.
The whole shootout and everything.
I'm going to hang that up.
Wow. Who in the world was that?
I don't know, but I'm going to mute my phone real quick. I apologize, everyone listening, if this didn't get cut. So anyway, the show kind of replicated what happened, but she gets hit with a shotgun blast running through. And now the way the picture was drawn, there was everyone assumed the baby was shot.
That's what I thought. The baby was shot through Lori Grimes.
I thought so too. And I was like, that's an extremely tragic death. Now, Lori trying to save her child, she gets shot in the stomach with a shotgun blast and the child gets shot. No, it's even worse.
Yeah.
Because Robert Kirkman came out and said, no, the baby didn't die from the shotgun blast. It died when Lori fell on it after falling over from a shotgun blast.
Dude, that's the worst thing, man. I mean, there's no way that death would not have been tragic. Whether it was like a sniper shot that went through Lori and hit Judy, or hit Judith, regardless of what would have happened, that's super tragic. Because like the craziest thing about that character in The Walking Dead at the time, what are they doing?
They're doing the landscaping. That part shouldn't get picked up. We're fine. If you hear anything odd in the background right now, we're getting landscaping.
Yeah, we're getting landscaping done in the backyard. The craziest thing about like Judith as a baby is like it was like this fresh, young, vibrant, hopeful thing.
Yeah.
In like this super bleak world. And the idea is that with that baby dying, it was almost like all hope was lost because now like there's no new generation. It's just back where they were before, which is, I mean, it sucks when you think about it.
Well, we were discussing how it's weird that they've kept Judy alive in the TV show because they probably don't want to kill a child on TV.
Honestly,
what are they going to do with her at this point?
I mean, I would take your logic about Aquaman's son and I would apply it to this and say they do not have the gumption to kill a baby on television.
I told you what's probably going to happen is either the show's going to end and the baby's just being carried around, or the baby's going to get kidnapped and it'll become a new driving force of the show.
Yeah.
And like the baby will just be out of the picture for like 3 or 4 years.
They already did that with what's her name with Carol's daughter in season 2, I think it was.
They could pull it again though.
When it ended with that girl like just being a zombie the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that was one of the saddest scenes I've ever seen in a show.
Tragic death number. We're going to add to this. We're going to add to it. The daughter, the child on Walking Dead, the TV show. Because that wasn't even in the comics, I don't think.
Yeah. No, Sophia in the comics, she was fine.
Yeah.
That never happened.
She's in the comics. She has gotten together with Carl. She's still around, isn't she?
No, in the comics, last I saw, in the comics, she liked Carl. Carl took off. He went to go join the Whisperers with Alpha's daughter.
Yes.
Yes, that's what
this
it
is
was.
a hell of a tangent.
Yeah, this is one heck of a tangent. Yeah. Dude, the Walking Dead's gotten so good.
Yeah, no, the comics are so good. But but what I'm saying is she's still alive. They never killed her.
Yeah, they never killed Sophia. Yeah.
Okay, so Lori Grimes crushing her own baby. Really tragic death.
Definitely.
Okay, moving on. Next, we're going to do Sue Digby. Do you know the Sue Digby story?
That's Identity Crisis.
Yes.
I know of it. I never actually read it.
Okay.
I get a million requests all the time to do it.
You really haven't?
I've never covered Identity Crisis.
Okay. Yeah. So the superhero community is all cheery and happy and everyone's happy-go-lucky. They capture the villains, they go to prison, they get free, right?
Yeah.
A elongated man's wife, Sue Digby, suddenly dies. She's dead and then burned with a flamethrower, and no one knows what the hell just happened.
What?
Yeah. So then a manhunt goes on that the superheroes' families are not safe. So what villain crossed that line? So a manhunt starts where they go looking for the villain.
So it's like a whodunit kind of story?
Yeah, it's the whole story is a whodunit, is a who killed her. And you start finding out all these secrets that the Justice League's been keeping from each other.
Wow.
Yeah, because they all start coming out of the woodwork. And the whole thing turns out to be the Atom's wife. She went crazy, shrunk down, created a brain aneurysm in Sue Digby's brain, and then to cover it up, used the flamethrower.
Holy cow. That was it?
That's the whole. I just gave away the killer.
It was the Atom's wife in the library with the candlestick.
That's basically what it was. Yeah.
Wow.
It was insane. And the whole thing is like a darker side of the DC universe, and our villain's going to finally be killing. It was insane. I'm pretty sure that I might have them mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that's also the issue where the Deathstroke drops the entire Justice League in one fell swoop.
Really?
It's like 3 panels. He drops them all.
He just wrecks them all.
And he explains how he did it all. Pretty sure that's the comic where he's like, the Flash is, he's super fast, but he always moves the same way. And he like sticks a sword out and Flash runs into it and things like that. Yeah.
Damn.
The Green Lantern, I think he does something to get rid of his willpower.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I made a video on it. Like Deathstroke destroys the Justice League. It was like 3 minutes because it's just like a 3-page spread.
Damn. Deathstroke wrecks the Justice League.
I'm pretty sure that was the story. If not, it's a similar story.
That's a video that comes out when the Justice League movie drops.
It's like a B team of the Justice League. Like Batman and Superman aren't there.
Oh, okay.
But because this is during that period for Identity Crisis when they weren't core members, they were just popping up for key stories.
See, that makes sense because I have a hard time believing. Well, no, that was a cool thing in what was it, Deathstroke Rebirth, where he threw green rocks at Superman.
Yeah,
Superman thought it was kryptonite. That was cool.
I'm pretty sure like he ignites like all the arrows in Green Arrow's quiver or something like that.
Wow.
To make him have to run off.
That sounds pretty beastly.
Yeah, no, it's Deathstroke. He goes crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Sue Digby. Now,
okay.
Do you know the phrase "woman in the freezer"?
Yes, Kyle Rayner's old girlfriend.
Do you know the story behind that?
Major Force was the one that killed her, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he killed her, like crushed her, and then put her inside
He
the
crushed. Okay,
fridge.
so Major Force comes down, and a side character that was just Kyle Rayner's girlfriend, he crushes her, shoves her in the freezer, and that started a whole movement that women are nothing more than side characters to propel the plot.
Yeah.
Which I kind of agree with, because Kyle Rayner's girlfriend was like nobody.
Dude, it was nuts. Like he comes back and he opens the fridge and he's like, "My God!"
Yeah, it's just like her limbs all crammed in there and stuff
that was
like
messed
that.
up.
It was insane.
Yeah.
But that is a tragic thing that Kyle to this day still brings up.
Oh yeah, dude. Here's a crazy thing. I was going through the whole Jeff Johns Green Lantern run.
Yeah.
And I got to the first volume of Ion, the Torchbearer, whatever it is, and he's on the planet learning about his powers from Mogo, whatever it is that he can do. And he literally references that. He's like, every woman that I meet dies.
Yeah.
Like every woman.
And that's
I
always
fall in
been
love
like a
with
tragic thing that he keeps bringing up. That's why he can't get into another relationship, because this girl got crammed into a freezer.
Yeah. That's pretty messed up. It's pretty tragic.
It is pretty tragic. And it started a whole movement in comics of women having more important roles than just being a plot device to give the male character, reason to be sad.
Getting crammed in fridges.
Okay. So this one, tell me why the Hulk's death in Civil War II is tragic.
Because I imagine Bruce Banner was. Oh, no. You're talking about the actual in-story explanation?
Yeah.
Oh, if I remember correctly.
Well, not even the in-story, just why in Civil War II, them killing the Hulk finally, why was that so tragic? Why would I consider that a tragic death to put on this list?
Because I feel like he would have been the one guy that would have been like, what are you guys doing? Like he would have been the one logical, reasonable human being.
You and I talked about this. So if you had been following current Marvel comics at the moment, Totally Awesome Hulk, Bruce Banner did not have the Hulk.
Yeah, he was just a regular guy.
Yeah.
But the idea, I think the explanation was if there's a case that he hulks out and he loses his mind, like he had given an arrow or something like that to Hawkeye.
Right, but he did it before losing his powers.
Yeah, that's true.
The way the story plays out and the way the timeline for Marvel plays out, the character of Bruce Banner is not able to turn into the Hulk.
Yeah, he gave Amadeus Cho absorb the Hulk powers.
Right.
Yeah.
And they let him get killed by a single arrow that he gave Hawkeye to kill him in case it looked like he was going to be hulking out.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, it was retconned later that he was looking for a way to become the Hulk again.
Yeah,
But if the timelines matched up, if the timelines matched up, this is Marvel's timelines being messed up. Okay. But in Totally Awesome Hulk, Bruce Banner was happy and not trying to become the Hulk again.
Yeah.
He was playing Minecraft during the exact time that issue came out. So if the timeline matches up, Bruce Banner was happy, did not want to be the Hulk, had no chance of becoming the Hulk. And he was shot.
Yeah.
Because he may become the Hulk.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole retcon of like he wanted to come back.
Yeah. So like later on they retconned it that the Hulk he was trying to, but that's not how it was. It was just so tragic because he was finally done with it. and that's when he dies.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up. Of all the times he's hulked out, of all the times he's lost his mind, World War Hulk.
That's what I mean.
He just like crushed the entire Eastern Seaboard. It's when he's a normal guy, he finally gets peace, and they shoot him in the face. I mean, that's like what was it? The ironic song from Alanis Morissette.
Yeah,
and it's like winning the lottery and then like dying in a plane crash the same day.
Exactly.
Like, Jesus,
that's the Hulk. Basically, he won the lottery and then died.
Yeah, God, that's messed up.
So okay, next up on the list, I have Gwen Stacy.
Gwen Stacy was huge.
Yes.
That was a huge death.
Well, because it was the first major kind of character. Even though she wasn't major, she was still just a side girlfriend.
Yeah.
But someone that was important that died as a pivotal moment.
Well, it was also the idea that there had never been a time before that when a superhero's love interest failed. Or I'm sorry, when the superhero's love interest died. The superhero would rescue her. He might rescue her when she's an inch from hitting the pavement. Or he might rescue her as soon as she falls off and there's no harm, no foul. But he would always rescue her.
Right.
Gwen Stacy was the first time that a superhero just failed so catastrophically that his love interest died. It was insane.
and Gwen Stacy, to this day, still gets referenced, still gets brought up. She still gets turned into a clone.
Yeah. Well, her death also set the stage for stories like The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Because her death came out in 1971. And the idea was, okay.
Well, comics started taking a darker turn at that point.
Yeah, because it's like if the love interest can die, the superhero can die.
Yeah.
And if the superhero can die, then anybody can die. And suddenly it was just, we can do almost anything we want to. So we started getting just some really dark and pretty sinister stories.
Well, I mean, that eventually led to the Let's Kill Superman in the 90s.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Which is the next thing on my list.
Yeah. Dude, the death of Superman in the 1990s was massive.
It was so tragic because DC, like, they wanted him to die. That was it. They were just going to kill Superman. And then later was like, wait, what did we do?
No, that's a crazy thing,
they
man.
sold like gangbusters and they're like, we got to bring him back now.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is with him, he had been just increasingly irrelevant since the 70s.
Yeah.
Because in the 50s and 60s, Weisinger was writing him and was editing him, and he was just like, let's add something new every 6 months. And they were having him off in space and pulling planets out of like, solar systems and stuff like that. And it was crazy. And people loved the out there Superman can do anything kind of a thing. And then when Schwartz took over and grounded him, everybody hated him. So that's when Dark Knight Returns came out and Batman just took over Superman in popularity. And so getting into the 90s, Superman had just been increasingly irrelevant for 20 years. And then finally, DC was like, okay, well, let's kill him and bring him back to make him relevant. And it was the worst mistake they ever made.
It was so bad.
It was a terrible decision.
Okay. I know this is a fan favorite of yours. Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Man.
Not Marvel. Not Carol
Danvers.
My hair in the same style that Benny has. She copied me, by the way.
That's a cool hairstyle, though. Yeah,
the way she does hers?
No, your hairstyle and her hairstyle. They look pretty amazing. Oh, yeah, I love Captain Marvel's hair. No, Marvel, man, that was crazy. It's this 1984 book that was written by Jim Starlin. And it was just basically him dying of cancer. The funny thing about this is, if you've ever read Thanos Imperative, it's basically like, what if that hadn't happened?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And that's it. And he has a whole series, like I think it's like 1 or 2 issues, maybe a couple more, where he just goes around saying his goodbyes. Yeah, he's dying of cancer. There's no way to fix it.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
But he was an important character because he set the stage for the popularity of Marvel's cosmology.
Yes.
Like, he is the one that was surfing around the spaceways. He was a Silver Surfer. Well, not really. I mean, Silver Surfer already existed, but he is what the Silver Surfer would later become in terms of all of the stories and the whole 2006 Annihilation that Dan Abnett and all them did that set the stage for the huge cosmic stories and so on. He laid the groundwork for all of that stuff.
Right.
And so him dying was huge because a lot of people looked at that and they said, well, I guess this is the end of the whole Marvel cosmos. And in a lot of ways, it never recovered. I mean, we had, the Infinity Gauntlet, but Infinity Gauntlet was like the last great, spacefaring massive story until we got to Annihilation. You had Infinity War, you had Infinity Crusade, but those weren't as good. They weren't nearly as interesting. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty big.
I also find it funny that that's when Miss Marvel took over.
Yes.
And everyone's still like, she's so new and so we don't want her around. I was like, she's been around for like 30 years,
She's been around she's been around longer than that. She's been around since the
Just because
60s?
she started calling herself Captain Marvel doesn't mean that. Like, no one remembers Captain Marvel unless you're like just an old school comic reader.
Dude, I never understood that. So for those guys who don't know, Marvel Now, the first one kicks off and it's like the second wave.
Yeah.
And it's like Captain Marvel, and Carol Danvers. People are just like, hey, you can take the Captain Marvel name. Literally, you are a copy of his powers.
Yeah.
So, and you have a couple of abilities of your own. But, the whole wishing machine, I can't remember what that's called, the Psych Magnetron, like that gave her abilities. They're like, take the name. And people are just like, no, she can't be Captain Marvel. He's this totally irrelevant character from like 30 years ago. And it's like,
No one even, no new reader knows who the hell Captain Marvel is.
I can show him a picture of the guy.
I guarantee you, when this podcast right here, this podcast, the image went up for Captain Marvel, half the viewers are like, who?
They would think he's a DC character. Is he part of the Justice League?
If you knew who he was, and be honest, if you knew who Captain Marvel was, outside of somebody saying Captain Marvel, and you're like, oh, there's a guy named that. If you know anything about him, let me know in the comments down below. I'm curious how many people actually know who Captain Marvel is.
Dude, I like how you say that. Be honest. Would somebody do that, Benny? Would somebody go on the internet and tell lies?
I think they would lie. I don't. You know what? You're right. You're right. Why would you go on the internet and lie?
Why would somebody go on the internet and tell lies?
Yeah, what was I thinking? Okay. So next we're going to talk about Jason Todd's death.
Oh, that was big.
Not only was the death itself tragic, where he goes looking for what he thinks is his parents, and he ends up in a warehouse, and the Joker ties him up,
and beats
him with a crowbar, and then blows it up.
Blows him up.
And Batman has to deal with the loss of Jason Todd.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that the fans were so divided over this character that they wanted him to die. I think he's like a 12-year-old kid at this point. And the world around, I don't care if he's a comic book character or not, the world voted to kill off Jason Todd.
Now, do you know why they voted to kill him off?
Wasn't there like a mistake or something with the way the voting system was?
That was part of it. Part of it was that the rumors that somebody called in with an auto dial.
Yeah.
And selected, it was like 1 to kill, 2 to save or something like that. And they just kept auto dialing. That's the rumor. No, the original reason why they wanted to kill him is Jason Todd was a pre-Crisis character. He appeared before Crisis on Infinite Earths. And then he was basically an exact copy of Dick Grayson.
Oh yeah, no, he was, yeah.
And so,
but he was angry and no one liked it.
Yeah, and fans absolutely despised him. They were like, "Give us a different character. We don't want Dick Grayson. We don't want a copy of him."
Well, they wanted Dick Grayson back, is what they wanted at the time, because no one was accepting him as Nightwing. They were they were like, "Oh, why is he going to be Nightwing? Just make him Dick Grayson. Make him Robin again."
So they launched Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they were like, "Okay, well, I mean, people just don't really like him." So, like, I think it's 1987.
I want to say 1984 was Crisis.
No,
I might be wrong.
No,
I'm not gonna say.
85, 86 was Crisis.
Okay.
1987, I think, was the death of Jason Todd. Is that right?
Yeah, because he happened after Crisis. Because the next two people on my
Crisis.
list happened in Crisis.
Yes.
And we'll talk about them in a second, which is Supergirl and Flash. But
oh god, yeah. So the death of Jason Todd. So that happened. Supposedly it was a fake phone-in thing, and somebody like a person.
I guess they had no way to check
Jason Todd.
who was calling. So and that's the big thing. No one officially knows if it was just a bunch of people wanted to see a kid die, or if it was just a couple people with auto dialer. No one officially knows, but it was, I guess, way too easy to rig it back then.
And assuming that you are the person who did it and you're still alive, congratulations. You successfully single-handedly killed Jason Todd in the 1980s.
So basically, speaking of the Crisis, though, we had two impactful deaths.
Yes.
Now, honestly, I don't know why the Flash was killed. But Barry Allen goes down, taking out the Anti-Monitor's cannon, running so quickly that he just eradicates. And as we know at the time, he's dead, and that's it. Barry Allen's dead. Then 20 years later, we find out that he ran into the Speed Force, but that's technically a retcon because he died. I don't know if there was a reason behind that one, or if they just wanted to kill him.
Supposedly there was an interview, and I think Marv Wolfman did this maybe some 5 or 6 years after Crisis on Infinite Earths. The idea was that DC wanted to move past Barry Allen. Yeah, they wanted to move into somebody new because people who were getting in, the whole idea of Crisis on Infinite Earths was to just reboot everything.
Yeah, they wanted to clarify everything.
Exactly,
the biggest issue.
And DC sat down. From what I understand, they sat down and they said, "Well, if we're doing this, it's going to bring in a whole new generation of readers. And if it's going to bring in a whole new generation of readers, we want to give them characters that they will find interesting and relate to." Wally West was already super popular at the time as Kid Flash, and so it made sense to just kill off Barry Allen, replace him with Wally West. Which initially there was a lot of like hatred towards it, but you ask anybody right now which version of Wally West they like, classic Wally West or the new 52? Let's say classic Wally West.
Oh, definitely. Well, he ended up being the Flash for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone likes to be like, oh, Barry Allen. And Barry Allen's only popular now because of the TV show and Rebirth. And I'm not talking DC Rebirth, Flash Rebirth. So 2009, Barry Allen was brought back. And then he was put in the TV show. And that's the only reason 90% of the Flash fans know who he is.
Yeah,
everyone else knows Wally West from the comics or the TV show.
The Justice League Unlimited too. I think he was also the Flash in that.
Yeah, he's been the Flash in everything.
Yeah,
up until there's more recent years.
Well, but a lot of Flash mythos that people know now was built on Wally West. Yeah, like the introduction of the Speed Force.
Oh, and that's funny, because a lot of people like to assume that Barry Allen didn't know. You're right. Well, a lot of it was built on Wally West and then like retconned into being a part of Barry. Yeah, it was Mark Waid was writing the whole thing at the time. He introduced the Speed Force, and it was crazy because it was this story where I think Linda was going to die. It was he had this premonition or something like that. Somebody went to go shoot his girlfriend, and he raced in time to try to stop the bullet and merged with the Speed Force.
And he started talking to her from the Speed Force and then eventually popped back out.
Yeah.
And then it was Mark Waid who came along and said Max Mercury was the first speedster. It was all those things that went into all that.
It was crazy. So he died for that. But do you know the reason behind the Supergirl death?
I don't know the reason behind it, but I do know it was tragic.
Okay, so the tragedy was that she sacrificed herself so that everyone can get out of, I don't want to say the negative zone, but the...
I thought you were talking about the whole thing. Yeah, no, she was the last man standing against the anti-monitor. The last woman.
Don't tell Supergirl her pronouns.
She was the last one standing against the anti-monitor.
Yeah.
And that actually gave way to the idea that Supergirl was more powerful than Superman.
Right.
So,
but they killed her for marketing.
Did they really?
So with Crisis coming through, they loved to. I've read into this and I've always found it funny. They loved to say Superman was the last son of Krypton.
Yeah.
So for marketing reasons, they wanted to maintain last son of Krypton, and you can't have Supergirl because she's also a part of Krypton. So Crisis wiped out every Kryptonian so that it would only be Superman at that point.
That's right. Yeah. Then they tried to bring her back as like Matrix.
Yeah. They brought her back, but she wasn't a Kryptonian.
Yeah.
She was a weird alien.
But somehow Power Girl managed to make it all through. And she was like, what is it? Something. She was like some ancient Atlantean something or something. Power Girl. Yeah, dude, they screwed up. They gave her an origin after Crisis on Infinite Earths. They gave her an origin after 0 Hour Crisis in Time.
I always thought that her origin was that she was Earth 2 Supergirl. I didn't know they had anything else in place.
She was an Earth 2 Supergirl before Crisis on Infinite Earths. Then they tripped because remember when Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, there was no Earth 2. There never had been an Earth 2.
I mean, and I might be wrong about this, but I remember reading that they just kind of kept her around.
They did,
and then she discovered later when they brought back the multiverse that she was still a part of Earth 2.
They did something like that. I know they gave her own origin in Justice Society Classified, I think it was.
Okay.
And it was like this 16-issue limited run where it just like here's what members of the Justice Society were doing back in the early mid 2000s, I think it was. I don't remember if that was before or after Infinite Crisis, but no, they gave her like 4 or 5 origins to try to just make sense of her character, and everybody hated it. It was bad.
Okay, let us know in the comments down below what the origins of Power Girl were. I know Dylan's gonna be watching this and he'll be sitting there going, "Guys, it's
actually." Yeah.
So we're gonna move it a little bit quicker. Okay. So we're not gonna talk so much about some of these characters. Okay. Some of these don't take a lot of talking though.
Yeah.
Here's the next big one. Robbie, just explain both of Jean Grey's deaths.
You want the super simplified version?
Yeah, let's do the super simplified version because it is tragic because she died twice.
It is tragic. All right, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby maker, she sucks. So Chris Claremont, hold on. Chris Claremont takes over. Chris Claremont's like, let's make her cool. So Chris Claremont introduces the Phoenix. Jean Grey becomes the Phoenix, eventually sacrifices her life. She flies into a star or something like that. Anyway, Jean Grey's dead, all right? Marvel wants to bring her back. But the problem is, like, when she was the whole Dark Phoenix thing, it was like, no. With this whole Dark Phoenix, you can't, like, she did bad stuff. You have to exonerate her. So they said, okay, we're going to resurrect her, and that's Jean Grey. Like, they just said she was in a cocoon at the bottom of Jamaica Bay. And the Phoenix was like the Phoenix that we saw as Jean Grey was not actually Jean Grey. It was just the Phoenix Force impersonating her.
And it's what makes it tragic though is the X-Men had to deal with her death twice.
Yes,
once as the Phoenix, once as regular Jean, and poor Cyclops.
She actually died a whole bunch of times. That's the crazy thing. She was killed by Magneto in New X-Men. She came back, then there was Phoenix End Song, and she's like, bye. And then she just took off into the White Hot Room.
So her death's not tragic. Her existence is tragic.
Her existence is tragic. Her death is tragic for Cyclops because Cyclops quit the X-Men team.
Yeah,
and the original X-Men quit out, didn't know what to do. Eventually, that led to X Factor, but yeah, it was really tragic more for Cyclops and Wolverine than it was for Jean herself.
Well, I know Wolverine dealt with it for a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so next on our list is the Captain America death.
Oh, that was big.
I love the retconning confuses me as to what actually happened. So I'll let you explain it.
Okay.
Because I know he was shot in the steps of the court.
He was shot on the steps of the court.
Civil War. Everyone, for the record, before you do it, I'm gonna explain this. Everyone likes to go, didn't he die in Civil War? No, he died in aftermath of Civil War. It's actually not in the Civil War story.
Yeah.
Civil War story is with him it ends with him being arrested.
Yeah, it came out some months after Civil War was over, after the initiative and everything. No, the way they told it, the way they said it was a ploy by Dr. Faustus, who can manipulate people, by his ring or whatever it is, but hypnotic suggestion, and the Red Skull. And so what they did is they staged a ploy. They said Crossbones is going to sit on top of a building, and Crossbones is going to look like he's going to shoot Captain America. The real killing blow is going to come from Sharon Carter.
See, that's what threw me off. Because I always remembered it as being Crossbones.
Yeah, Crossbones shot him in the shoulder and injured him. And in the panic, Sharon Carter walked up and shot him in the stomach.
Okay.
And that's what killed Captain America.
Now, she was brainwashed, wasn't she?
She was brainwashed. And it was crazy because as soon as it happened, Captain America gets taken to the hospital. She's in like a bathroom by herself. And the Red Skull's daughter, Sin, comes along. along and says like remember or something along those lines, and then she recalls everything that she was brainwashed into killing Captain America. It's a super emotional moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Captain America's death was huge, and it was tragic because it's Captain America. It was like
it made
killing
headlines.
Superman. It did.
Yeah.
It was like killing Superman. It was just a massive moment in the history of Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up on our list is the death of the Ultimate Spider-Man.
I actually didn't read that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like where they end the entire story, the Ultimate Spider-Man, his entire story goes to 150 issues. And at the end of the whole thing, Green Goblin comes back from the dead, and he's like, I'm done playing these games. And he grabs the entire Sinister Six, and they go to Peter Parker's house because he knows who he is, and he just starts on his front lawn challenging him.
Wow.
And then Peter Parker has to fight against the Green Goblin. But just before this battle against the entire Sinister Sin and the Green Goblin, he got shot in the gut. So he's already weak.
Wow.
He saved, I forget what it was, but he saved somebody.
Yeah.
And like at a falling bridge or something like that, and he got injured. So he's already weak. Green Goblin shows up. He's like, I'm done playing these games with you. It's on. And like, he calls in his buddy to Human Torch. He calls in somebody else. They come in and try and help him. They both get taken out. Peter Parker gets beat down multiple times. Before it all started, he told Mary Jane and Aunt May to get out of there because he knows it's coming. And what happens is they come back because they saw it on the news. So as he's beating down the Green Goblin, he sees Aunt May and Mary Jane, and he decides to give it his all to save them.
Oh my
to take
God.
them down. And he does one final push, and he finally kills the Green Goblin. And he dies in the same process. And he dies, I want to say it was in Mary Jane's arms, looking at Aunt May. And he's like, I did it. I couldn't save Uncle Ben, but I saved you.
Those feels, man.
Yeah. I'm getting all emotional right here.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm getting misty-eyed.
And they didn't put it in the comic, but the collector's edition cover was then him walking into the white light with Uncle Ben's arm around his shoulder. And it was Uncle Ben saying, you did good, kid.
Damn.
So in our video, I took that cover and I put it at the end.
Wow. Dude,
And he dies there.
I bet your fans were just like, oh my God.
And Mary Jane's like, why did no one call 911? Why are you all standing there? Because like the public's just watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Human Torch is all tore up. Everyone's tore up. And he just dies.
See, I picked up with Miles Morales. And that was the coolest thing because at the funeral, he goes to Mary Jane and asks her, like, why did he do it? Like, why did he become Spider-Man? Like, dude, it's such a cool, dude. God.
But that's how he died, defending Aunt May at the very end of everything.
See, I don't want to read that now because
I'm
going to cry.
You don't even need full context on it because you just need to know the Green Goblin and the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
Because the story opens up with them breaking out of prison.
Oh, dude, I'm going to cry reading that comic. Oh man,
That has to be one of the most tragic moments ever. But at least it's like the hero got his reward in the end.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, Bucky Barnes.
Yeah. Which death are we talking about? The original?
The original, where he saved Captain America, but had him frozen because of that.
I mean, it was cool. I mean,
Still tragic though. Your friend saves your life and then goes to die.
yeah.
I mean, yes, we got it retconned later. He survived and became the Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
but he was dead. That was.
Well, no, I mean, he didn't really save his life. He just got trapped on a plane, on like a drone plane.
I thought he pushed him off with a rocket. It's not a drone plane; it was a rocket. And I thought he pushed Captain America off, but his sleeve got caught.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Because I know when he came back as the Winter Soldier, it was a great big huge retcon on his whole history and everything.
Yeah, which throws a lot of things out of whack. But his actual death was another one of those characters remembered it for a very long time. You know, Bucky died saving me. Bucky died saving me.
Yeah, that was a pretty big thing because it was like Bucky Barnes was one of the characters that just stayed dead.
Yep.
That's why it was so huge when Sharon Carter was like, I think it's Bucky, you know, then it turns out Bucky Barnes is back. Yeah, I mean, I never really considered it so tragic, but mostly because I was so removed from it.
It's so old. Yeah. Well,
so
it kind of goes back to the Batman, Superman, and the Spider-Man stuff. Yeah. Okay. So we can keep moving forward because I know we're running lower on time here. This is a quick one.
Okay.
The original Doom Patrol comic.
Never read Doom Patrol.
They were given a finale. They were told you're going to be canceling. So the original writer killed the entire team off with them saving. Hold on. I got it's my computer. Okay. The original author put it in there as they saved a small town. And I wrote the exact thing that happened. They saved the small fishing town of Coddsville, Maine.
Huh.
All of them died in the saving. Big sacrifice. And it was the first time that a comic had ever ended with the death of the team.
Yeah, usually it's just like they go on happily ever after.
Yeah, we're moving on.
Yep, we're moving on to our careers, guys. We did a fine job. Or they merge. You get Young Justice and you get Teen Titans merge into like one team.
So the original Doom Patrol died, sacrificing themselves, and the cover even shows them all standing there over their own graves. It's old school, but it's a tragic one. Hawkeye and the Avengers disassembled.
Oh, not like this.
Not like this.
Not like this.
Basically, they're fighting the Skrull. As you know, we find out the whole thing's from Scarlet Witch alone.
Well, it's the Kree. Yeah, she manifested all the warships.
Yeah, the Kree. Yeah. And they ignite his quiver. And one of the most classic yet tragic deaths ever in comics, Hawkeye can't pull off his quiver.
I thought it was more funny than tragic.
Not all of these are truly tragic. I had to get 24 deaths here, man. We're cracking up. Maybe this one isn't quite so tragic.
It's not so tragic.
Because instead of taking his quiver off, he grabs one of the Kree, they use our rocket pack, and he launches into the ship just yelling, "Not like this!
Not like this!" And then just blows the whole thing up. It was pretty funny.
I mean, if I was in his boat, I would have been like, crap.
Yeah, just grab it and just throw it off.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to be a reasonable human being and just put it over there. Wow.
Okay. Human Torch.
You're talking about, dude.
That's another one that he got retconned back into existence.
That's the one where when he died fighting Annihilation.
Yeah.
Dude, that was the coolest thing because, I love this so much. So like some villains or something like that break into the Baxter building, whatever, open a portal to the negative zone. Yeah. And so like Annihilus and his forces have already been defeated. They've already been pushed back. And so like Johnny Storm runs in and basically it's just like, everybody get out of here. Franklin, Valeria, everybody get out of here. I'm going to save it. Like they try to bring him back. He won't leave. The portal closes behind him. Dude, it's one of the most badass moments because he turns around, this full page spread where he's like, flame on. Yeah. And that's the end of Johnny Storm. And I was like, oh my God, dude, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It's so sad that they retconned it out that he survived later.
I wish they'd left him dead because he went out like a hero.
Oh no, he did. Like, he did. Definitely did. And that's what you got to think a lot of times with these deaths guys. A lot of times it is a death.
Yeah.
And then they just bring him back later.
That's what cheapens it, man, because they go out just so awesome. Yeah. And then somebody comes back, well, they were in a Kryptonian healing matrix. So it was like, whatever.
So, okay, another tragic death, Terra on the Teen Titans.
Never read that.
Okay, so in Judah's contract, we discover that for the entire year she'd been on the team, she'd been doing nothing but betraying them, working with Deathstroke, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. But Beast Boy, even in the end, still thinks she can become a hero and that Deathstroke has brainwashed her. She then uses all of her powers to bring the entire building down on top of herself, killing herself.
Wow.
And because Beast Boy still cared about her, they gave her a proper burial, proper funeral, everything. And they never told the rest of the superhero universe that she had betrayed them in the very end.
Damn. So the whole world thought she was just a hero.
She went down a hero. And it wasn't until Blackest Night that people realized she didn't.
Because that's when she came back. Yeah. Wow. Dang. Jeez, man.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
brutal.
So we are officially running low on our topics here. Okay. Luckily, there's going to be no B-roll for the end of this video. This video itself is going to be like 50 minutes all by itself.
It's going to be nuts.
Okay, so do you know the story of the death of the Wasp, which is the one that turned Hank Pym into the Wasp?
No.
I'm on the last two here.
You talking about Janet Van Dyne?
Yeah.
I don't
Secret
think so.
War? Secret Invasion. So many secrets in Marvel Universe.
I covered Secret Invasion, but I don't remember her dying.
So the Skrull version of Hank Pym altered her growth formula to make her into a bio bomb. So that as she would grow, she would make this dark energy that would attack everyone.
That's right.
And she saw it coming. And the Queen used it to force her to grow so that she would become this bio bomb. Yeah. And she grabbed everyone and basically ran towards the Skrulls and died.
Yeah.
And she went down so heroically that Hank Pym, the real one,
became the Wasp. Yeah. That's also part of his identity crisis.
I have like 9 superhero identities.
He is crazy as hell. Yeah.
So, okay, now I'm going to end this one with one you'll never expect.
Okay.
You're never going to see it coming.
All right.
The death of Archie.
You win.
You didn't see this coming?
Never saw that coming.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I don't read Archie. So this one I had to find. Okay. And I'm going to read. This is the only one I'm reading verbatim. Everything else I knew about. Okay. But in issue 36, the shooting takes place at a fundraiser being held at the chocolate shop. While Kevin's FBI bodyguards are distracted by a suspicious character wearing a hoodie, Archie spots the real stalker aiming a gun. Archie then knocks Kevin and Clay out of the way just as the stalker fires, hitting Archie in the abdomen. The stalker is then subdued by the security before he can fire again. And Archie's dying words are to Betty and Veronica, and he says, "I've always loved you," to both of them.
Wow.
The last 2 panels of the issue are a full-page spread. The first panel showing Archie's body being cradled by Jughead as Kevin, Betty, and Veronica kneel beside him weeping. And the rest of the room is also in tears. And the final panel shows Archie's spilled chocolate soda with 3 straws from when he got up and took the bullet.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I
this
never
also
knew Archie got that brutal.
and it also made kind of headlines because I guess this was a gay character, and Archie was protecting a gay character who was running for senator.
Wow.
Yeah, because this is supposed to be like in the future. So in the
okay.
Life with Archie comics, they had like 2 alternate realities of what if he had been with one person, what if he'd been with Betty or Veronica.
Oh, okay.
And so this is in both endings, he dies saving Kevin from the bullet.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, I never got into Archie.
I never did either, and I read this, and I'm like, what?
Archie sounds pretty badass.
You know about that alternate universe where Archie fights zombies, right?
Yeah, I've heard about that. I've heard like Archie joins the Punisher.
Yeah.
I've heard of a handful of those. Yeah.
Archie's done some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But this definitely, I mean, I don't even know Archie that well, but I know Betty, Veronica, and the Archie dynamic.
Yeah, I know
ending.
Yeah. God, that's nuts. That love triangle, man.
So we've had a very sad podcast today.
We have. Guys, I'm going to go cry.
I'm going to go call my mom.
You're going to go call your mom. I'm going to go listen to The Cure.
But since we're running late, we're not going to do any B-roll today, guys. If you want more of the vodcast, the Benny and Rob experiment. I switched it now. Now we're not the RnBe. We're the B&E.
The B and E?
The B and R-E.
B and R.
RnBe works better.
RnBe. I like RnBe. RnBe.
But the Rob and Benny experiment, don't forget to subscribe to the Comicstorian channel. Yep. You can also find this on iTunes and SoundCloud. When we finally get up there, we are in the works for doing that, so you can listen to us on your drive to work, guys. It'll be great. And that is today's topic. 24 of the most tragic deaths in comics.
That is nuts.
You okay? You're going to make it?
Dude, I'm going to go cry.
We're going to go cry?
I'm going to go.
You going to go heavy vaping?
I'm going to go sit in the fetal position and just cry.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to follow me at Comicstorian on Twitter. Rob you're at Comicstorian also.
Yep. I'm at Comics Explained.
He's at Comics Explained, whatever you want to do. And you can also subscribe to his channel at Comics Explained. I'm at Comicstorian. Every Saturday we bring you the RnBe podcast where we go over general comic knowledge so that we can learn and you guys can learn, because as you can tell, we don't know everything. And don't forget, if you want to see us talk about gaming stuff in a very similar discussion fashion, we're doing that now over at the gaming channel Eligible Monster. You can find that in the description down below. And go check out our t-shirt, Crack-a-cacoom. Sales of that are going to support the vodcast right now. They're not going to support me, they're going to support the vodcast.
It's all good.
So thank you guys, and have a good evening.
Peace.